Excellent. Thank you so much. That was quite insightful. Let's get to the hero topic of today, which is the product alignment document. I was so happy. I think it was last year, early last year or early this year. I don't remember when you first revealed it. Was it late last year, or when was it when you shared the product alignment framework on LinkedIn for the first time?
Yeah, that's a very good question because I don't remember exactly, but I think yeah, it's probably somewhere maybe early this year, if I'm
Early
not
this year, right?
mistaken. I just need to look it up. Yeah, because first, of course, we rolled it out at Miro last year early on, but later I decided to just write about it and share it with the community.
Got it. So I will share the product alignment document here on screen, and then I want to dig deeper into it. So why don't you tell us the story of inception? I'm sure it had its own evolution, isn't it? So it's not like the way it is now. So it must have gone through its own stages of maturity. But I would like to know the story of its origin, and how did it start, and what was the intent, and how did it evolve over time?
Sure. When I joined Miro, I think it was around May 2020. One of the things that actually helped me to understand the product culture at Miro was the product reviews. And for anyone in the audience who might not be familiar with product review, it's a panel where product people bring certain product artifact for review into that session. And depending on a company, it might differ what you bring to that panel. But at Miro, basically PM would come there and present different type of product decisions that they have made or different type of approaches they had in terms of discovery, and it was
And
great.
present to whom? Who is the
Yes,
reviewer?
good question. Uh, so the reviewer in that panel was everyone in the product guild, any basically the product manager, group product manager, or head of product, including our CEO, and of course with mix of some of the engineers. When I'm saying everyone, it doesn't mean like the whole Miro was in the same meeting, but everyone was invited to the meeting as an optional attendees where they could attend based on the topic. And of course, every session would have required attendees as well. So I don't remember how many of this thing that I'm talking about was there before this framework or not, because now it's sort of blended. Uh, but at least I remember product reviews was there. The only thing was there was no structured way of doing product discovery. So every team would take their own approach how they want to do product discovery, and it was it was on one hand good because it would come with a lot of flexibility, but at the same time, there were within some of the product reviews, I would notice that there are areas that some PMs are keep missing in their basically either in their discovery or presentation, and similar type of question would pop up from the audience, and the audience either can be their peers or it can be head of product or it can be CEO. And then I saw an opportunity. I noticed that with the hyper growth that we were going through, it's the right time maybe to create sort of guidance on how you conduct your product discovery, and also the importance of highlighting the importance of opportunity discovery before jumping to solution, especially in hyper growth environment. You just want to solve that problem because it's so tempting.
Multipliers, right?
Yes, yeah. You just want to, indeed, you just want to solve the problem as soon as possible, and that might bias you in terms of the opportunity discovery, and you might not explore different opportunities, and you might not even think that, oh, maybe that opportunity has a higher priority compared to this one.
So,
So
so
long
before
as,
before sorry to interject here, I would
sure,
like to know first of all. So different organizations have different styles of product review. So maybe we can start from that. What
yeah,
does a product review mean? What is an ideal mix of audience who should attend in the product review? And how should a product review be structured? What kind of topics should you bring into a product review? Maybe these
yeah,
fundamentals would be really really helpful, because there are so many companies who
sure,
have still not figured out to do this effectively.
sure. So it's again, I don't think there is a single rule for all the companies, and every company should adopt their own processes based on their own needs. I can talk about Miro that this panel has been quite product centric. We do have engineering leads there, so starting maybe with the team that is presenting. So the team that has worked on that specific product discovery is going to be there when one of the team members is going to present, and it's mostly the product manager. And of course, it's worth mentioning that at Miro we have a presentation type of product reviews, because in companies like Amazon you have more of a
Right.
async. Yeah, it's not
6 pages.
async. I mean, yeah, everyone is just reading the artifact before they start discussing it, so there's no presentation in that sense. While at Miro, the PM, or in some cases it can be designer, again in special cases, or an engineer, might present the result of the product discovery. But the whole team that participated in that product discovery is there because they need to get feedback from others. So this is the team that present. Next to that, we have the audience, and the audience are mostly products, and the required attendees are either the product teams that have dependency on this specific feature that being presented, or a specific solution or problem that is being presented, or somehow if they relate to this basically discovery. Those are required attendees. We also have a sponsors. The sponsors means that the both engineering sponsor and product sponsor, and sometimes in some cases design a sponsor of a specific initiatives, that they need to give thumbs up, thumbs down to, or provide feedback, most importantly, on the direction that the team is taking. And those are also required. So these are required attendees. Next to that, we have many optional attendees, including our CEO. Surprisingly, he's attending all of them, which
Nice.
is the best thing I have seen a CEO do, because CEO does, because it's with the fact that is a lot is happening and we are in hyper growth stage, and of course with the size of organization, it's easy to miss what's happening in product teams. And this is a perfect panel to understand what are the problems that teams are focusing on, what are the opportunities that are out there, which of them we are picking and why we are picking them, and what are the solutions that we are picking in solving them.
And are the decisions for go or no go for a certain opportunity discovery taken there?
Yes, that is correct. But I have to admit that I barely see any no-goes, because I think that the main reason behind this, we can talk about the template, but I think template covers enough questions for the team to focus on the right things. And once they focus on the right things during the discovery, I think they have enough information to make a sound decision on whether we should be focusing on this or not, and which path to take. And because of the fact that they have way more context than their own sponsors, they already, I think, come prepared to that meeting enough to with the right basically decisions and direction. So you barely see that someone gets a thumbs down. There might be certain exception. For instance, market has changed so rapidly just right before presenting in a product review, then it no longer makes sense to for that approach. Then in that case, it's a thumbs down. But normally it's a thumbs up. The only benefit is having a lot of feedback during the session. There might be angles that you might have missed, or maybe because of your biases, because you have worked on that part of the product, you might not have seen certain things. But people with fresh eyes and different views comes to that meeting, and they provide very good feedback to you.
So what you are saying is, by the nature of the structure of the PAD, it is self-governing. That means you will be able to decide better than your stakeholders, isn't it?
That's
Um,
absolutely correct.
and while filling the document, if you see that this is not fitting the strategy or this is not the right initiative, you would not even present it to the stakeholders. Only if you see fit, you would present it in the review. And if you see fit, it is more likely to get a go. Then maybe it has been in maybe you miss a certain strategic context that on rare occasions might be highlighted by one of the stakeholders or the CEO, isn't it?
That is absolutely correct. What I want to add on top of that is the reason that this works is because there is a strong vision and a strategy in place at the company level that everyone knows where we are heading. And because we have that, it acts sort of as a North Star metrics for us that everyone knows that, okay, we are going toward that direction. And that's where we want to be as a company in 3 years. And therefore, when they are doing their product discovery, then they know which type of opportunities or problems they need to focus on that brings the highest contribution to our overall company strategy.
Got it. Got it. So this is not an exercise where an external stakeholder is minutely interfering with your product decisions. This is about having a healthy conversation about it. But still, the teams are empowered. The product managers and the product leaders are empowered to make their own decisions, isn't it? Is that
That
how it?
is absolutely correct. It's mostly about feedback rather than thumbs up, thumbs down. Of course, we have the thumbs on, thumbs down there, but in general, as I said, in very rare cases, I saw thumbs down. It's mostly just feedback and thoughts.
Got it. And how frequent are these meetings?
Right now, we have it weekly at Miro, and that's simply because we have enough demand for presenting discoveries happening by teams at Miro. It doesn't mean that other companies should do weekly, not at all. It's just simply because there are enough topics to be covered every week. We just decided to put a placeholder on our calendar, which is 1 hour per week. And of course, some weeks we might have more than, we have it, sorry, for 1 hour. I don't know if I mentioned half an hour, but we have it for 1 hour. And sometimes if we have just one topic, which is normally half an hour, we just try to shorten that meeting. Sometimes it might go to 1.5 hours because we have three topics to present. But normally we don't. We try to keep it max to 1.5 hours in certain cases that we have three topics to be reviewed.
And what are the topics? Like there could be discovery topics of new ideas. Do you also have topics that you have already, say, features you have shipped, and now you are bringing back the insights of how they have succeeded, whether the success metrics were met, or it is only about new features and new ideas?
It's about both. So there are different category of things. It can be a fully brand new feature. It can be an existing feature but needs major improvements. Therefore, it requires proper opportunity problem discovery and also proper solution discovery. That's basically the second category. And the third category is when the team, in general, for all the topics that comes to product review, we have the third phase, which is called product launch retro. And in that sense, once the product is launched, the teams reflect back on how whether the success criteria that they defined earlier was achieved. If not, what was the learning, or even if it was achieved, what was the learning to share it with a broader audience. And sometimes, because of the, not sometimes, actually many times, because of the nature of experimentation, it's quite important to revisit your solution discovery again and bring it back for presentation. So if there are a small experimentation, you don't even need to bring it to product review. But if you are really going back to solution discovery to do a big revamp, it might make sense to do another solution discovery for it and present it. Of course, having said that, we are not bringing everything to product reviews. It would be very consuming, and it wouldn't make sense. Maybe we can talk about also like what type of things comes to product review and
Yeah, so
how has that.
I will share the PAD document now. I just wanted to know, yeah, what type of features or initiatives should be, how small or big should be the features to qualify for a product, for a PAD.
Yeah. So in general, I think that rule also had shifted because we had a lot of internal discussion what should come to product reviews and whatnot. So in general, I think we are relying on the judgment of PMs itself, whether it makes sense to bring it to product reviews or not. But as a guidance, we first told something like a very generic rule as a rule of thumb. If something requires more than 3-4 weeks of development effort, therefore it might worth bringing it to product reviews. But of course, that definition is not enough, because at the same time, if something doesn't have cross stream, uh, it doesn't require cross stream collaboration, or if it doesn't require, it doesn't have any cross stream impact, then it might be very focused on a specific area. Therefore, it doesn't need to go to our global product reviews, because we also have a concept of local product reviews which can happen within your product stream. Then you don't bring it in such a big panel that the whole organization is there, including the all the head of products and CEO. So if something is really related to your own product stream, you just bring it to the stream review. If it's more cross a stream and has a wider impact, or if it's highly strategic and carries some strategic risk, you want to bring it to that panel. So at the end of the day, we rely on PM's judgment what worth bringing to product review. Having said that, we have a centralized place to have all the topics, and the stream heads or our CPO or even our CEO or even other team can request, even your peer can request, hey, can you bring this actually to the product review, because it has impact on our team. So other teams and also leadership team can request for a specific product reviews which were not supposed to come to the global product review to come there as well.
Got it. Excellent. You mentioned so for PAD, a feature should be as large as something that needs 3 to 4 weeks of development. You would not create a PAD for smaller enhancements. Is that true?
Uh, Actually, as a PM, you are free to create PADs even for the things which are small. And as a PM, even you have freedom to not create PAD for something which is more than 4 weeks, let's say 6 week, as far as it's only related to your team, doesn't have any other impact, or maybe it's a low impact in terms of a strategy. Maybe there is no reason even to bring it. So again, we rely on judgment of PMs, and also a lot of PMs are using the PAD for the smaller initiatives that they don't even bring to product review, because simply they just like the structure, and they might of course skip some of the section that they might not find helpful for a smaller initiative, but
Got
they still use the template for their team to have everyone inside the team aligned.
Got
And
it. It helps them in better in the discipline of better thinking, better decision making, and structuring, even if you don't want to share it with anybody, isn't it?
yeah, that's
So
absolutely correct, because at the end of the day, if you want to collaborate with your engineering partners and your designer within your team, everyone knows to know what's the problem or opportunity that we are working on, and who's the audience, and why we are solving it, and what are the success metrics. These are really like base of the base, all of the things that are in the PAD. And for having a proper cross functional collaboration, you would need to be aligned on this topic. Even if you don't write it down, at least you need to figure it out in your head, and you need to discuss it with the team.
got it. So I have your I think this is a blog. This looks like
It's a Substack block, yes.
yeah, this is Substack. Yeah, okay. So oh, you have your own domain link to Substack, is it? Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, you can have custom domains on Substack.
Excellent, excellent. All right, so this is how it looks like. So you talk about a product alignment approach consists of a single document called PAD, as well as ceremonies that go along with the document. And then, okay, let's look at the three pillars. So PAD consists of three main pillars listed below. So the first pillar is the problem space, opportunity problem framing, and then the solution space, and then there is the post launch recap. So this is what you mentioned, right?
Yeah,
um okay. So maybe if you can again recall what these three pillars are.
yes, sure. So maybe if you scroll down to the actual template, that would be easier to,
Should
if
I
you,
click on this?
no, if you go even further down, I mean, this is a Miro template that you can use if you want to reuse. But if you go further down, I even uh, at the end of this article.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I put the section so it's easier to read here. So, as you mentioned, it consists of three parts, the product alignment document. And the first one is opportunity and problem framing. This is about the everything about the problem and opportunity. So, any product development starts with a problem to solve or an opportunity to capture. Sometimes it's a problem to solve, sometimes it's an opportunity to capture. And the first part is about what is the problem statement, just describing what is the problem that we are trying to solve or what is the opportunity that we are trying to capture.
So help
The
me
second,
understand. Is I was assuming every opportunity is actually solving a problem. Is it not?
so yeah, they can be actually, you can interpret it that way as well, that solving a problem in itself is an opportunity,
Opportunity. Yeah.
but sometimes there's a specific problem identified and you want to solve it, but
Hmm.
sometimes it's not necessarily a problem, but there's an opportunity to be captured, and you just want to capture that opportunity because you believe there's an opportunity there. So that's basically a bit of different in those areas.
Got it.
And then the next section would be audience, like for whom we are solving it. There's a why section, which is actually quite important. It's about why we are focusing on this specific problem and not others, because as I said, for every team there's a wide range of problems to focus on. Why we are focusing on this as an
Yeah,
example, because
it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity cost, isn't it? If you're solving something, then
it's
you are not solving something else. So
yes, absolutely, fully agree with you. So it, for instance, does it contribute to our company strategy and vision? Does it relate to any of OKRs that we defined, or is it leading to an important competitive neutralizer or differentiator, etc.? And then we have success metrics, like which are like, how do we know if we solve this problem? Comparative research, in case of a feature is a competitive neutralizer, then you want to describe here how other competitors solved it, because your competitors also have done their own research, and it might give you some ideas like what approaches they took in solving it. Sometimes you might want to just get inspired by them, sometimes you just know what they have done but you want to take fully another approach. Regardless, it's important to be aware what is out there, and that's about basically this dedicated part.
no, this is also very important for me. So I also always add comparative research. The reason is, if I'm building something for the first time and that has been solved in the market, I would
Yes.
want it to be a better than what is existing in the market. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Because
Yeah.
if you're not benchmarking yourself, and if you don't see that, then you are missing the point, and your experience might be inferior than what is already present in the market. So I would rather identify the benchmark and try to make build a better product than what is available in the market. So it's very important for me as well. Excellent.
Absolutely. Or even in certain cases, you know what's available on the market, but you don't want to be the best solution on the market. You might be aware that I would never reach that level of quality because that's not my priority right now, to
Got it.
focus to make it as best as the competitor, because that's not our focus. But it's good to be conscious about it and know whether you want to basically be better than the competitors, or you want to be at the same level or even lower. Just being aware what they have done, but you just want to solve it in an easier way because it's not a strategy a strategy uh, a priority for you.
That's a very good point again. So there might be customers who might leave you to the competitor just for that feature, not at the same level of quality, but if you can solve it, you can plug the gap, not the same experience. They are with you for your entire product, but if you can plug this gap, this feature parity, they might stay with you. They don't
Uh,
want they don't expect the same level of quality, but just having that feature
yes.
is good enough. So yeah,
Or
that's one. Yeah,
yes, or even in certain cases, you know that not offering it might, by not offering it, you might lose some users or some deals. But
right.
even that might be fine unless if you are conscious of what you are doing and if it's a deliberate decision that we know that the cost of missing this feature is losing this amount of customer, but we make this decision because that's not a priority. That might be even acceptable in certain contexts. So it really depends on the context and the product.
That's a very good one. So you should not be shooting in the dark. You should be aware of where you are. That is much
Yes.
better than not being aware of where you are. So
Yeah,
excellent. Cool.
for sure. And the last part, which is actually quite important, is potential solution directions. So it might bring up a question why we are going to solutions here, because
Yeah.
we are not in the solution space yet. But this is not a full-fledged solution discovery. This is just doing some very high-level research on what potential solution direction we might take in solving this problem. So it's about solution direction. That's very different than having a specific solution. It's just a direction. So let's say you want to go from France to Italy, and you know that your solution direction can be either taking a train or taking a bus or plane, and it's good to have that understanding in the problem discovery, because once you get into solution discovery, then you have to investigate, okay, which of them I want to focus on more, etc., etc. And having it here would help when you bring it to the product review. When you bring your problem discovery result to product review, you might receive some feedback and suggestion. Actually, there are different type of solution direction that you might focus on. For instance, you can take I don't know, like a jet from France to Italy. And in that sense, when you start your solution discovery, you already collected some feedback from a broader group, like what are the direction that you think uh, might have a good potential for focusing on.
Got it. And then is the solution framing. But before we begin solution framing, my question to you is it wise to fill this PAD with both problem framing and solution framing? The reason I ask this is, so we have a similar structure at Price Hubble, but I don't move to solution framing till we get a pass of some kind in the problem framing. Say, for example, I do not want to involve my teams on the solution framing to brainstorm, because the idea might not pass if it does not have the requisite business case. It might not be aligned with the strategy. So I would not waste my time in solution framing. How do you think about that?
So that is exactly what we are doing at Miro as well. So we have the template is all in same document, but the product reviews that we are scheduling is specific to one section of the stock. So
Ah, nice.
we have three different type of product reviews. We have either opportunity or problem review, we have solution review, and then we have post-launch recap review, and each of
Nice.
them is being done separately. Yeah.
Lovely. Lovely. Thanks. Excellent. So let's move to solution framing then.
Yes. And the solution for framing is all about the solution that we want to pick. So there's a section about proposed solution, which is going to be most likely one of the solution directions that you outlined in the previous section. And then here you can also list what are the rejected solution and why. So out of those solution direction that you listed above, you decided to not go for some of them. What were the reasons?
So help
And
me understand, what is your readiness for filling this section? So do you involve your teams, say engineers and developers and UX team,
yeah,
to do some brainstorming before they can fill this up, or how is it? What is the level of
yes.
effort here?
This is absolutely cross collaboration, the whole template. Like even in the problem opportunity framing, it's a full cross collaboration. Start So in some companies they might have the problem opportunity framing only across collaboration between a researcher, designer, and PM, not necessarily engineer, because it doesn't involve building anything in the problem discovery. But it's important to involve your engineering counterparts, or at least engineering leads, within those discussions, because they can provide good feedback along the way. They have a different point of view from engineering angle. They can also contribute to the solution direction that you listed out there. And in general, engineers are creative people, like any
Always,
other.
always. I
like
have the
any
best
other
ideas
cross-function.
come from engineers. My best ideas come from developers.
Absolutely, they solve problem all day long. I mean, also designers and everyone else. So why not having them involved and everyone bring their own mindset and view into this? So this is a fully cross functional collaboration, the whole template.
But help me understand. So your
Yeah.
engineers and developers are already busy building the features of the current sprint, right? Um,
Yes.
how, how do you allocate time to pull them out to involve in all these new ideas that are coming in? How do you manage these two worlds?
So it really depends on a product area or product feature or initiative that you're focused on, how heavily you want to involve your engineering. In a lot of cases, having just your engineering lead, it can be either tech lead or team lead, as part of this discussion would be enough. In some cases, you want to have a broader group. For instance, if you are building a developer product, those are the best audience to get feedback from. Therefore, what you need to do, you need to, of course, dedicate time for the discovery work during your planning as well. So you can't just plan everything till the max and at the same time also expect people to do discovery, because a proper discovery also takes time. But because it is valuable, I think it's justified to spend time with the whole team on it, because the cost of not doing it with a team might uh, cost you a full reward later on when you bring them on board.
And they feel empowered, right? So when they are
Of course.
participating in the solution side of things, because you're not pushing them a ready-made solution to go and code, because that just makes them mercenaries and not missionaries. So I like that. Sorry, I'm deviating a bit, but I'm curious to know, how is the solution fleshed out. How much is the participation of the developers in solution space than the UX and PM doing the brainstorm workshops for the solution and passing it to the team. I just wanted to understand the contribution of the developers. How deep is the contribution to the solution side?
So, can you maybe elaborate on your question? You mean how they collaborate across this doc?
Like there is a feature that came, okay, it's a big feature, and then in not empowered, in less empowered product teams, the product manager and the UX, they form a team, and then they do the discovery, and then they do workshops, they come up with prototypes, mock-ups, and then they decide what the solution is. And when the sprint planning happens, they pass this solution, and all the developers need to do is just implement the solution. They don't have any say, they don't participate
Mhm.
in the solutioning exercise. They do
Yeah.
not bring in their own creative stuff. So I just wanted to but I know there are other companies where developers also participate in brainstorming solution. They
Mhm.
have different ideas coming from, so it's not just the UX lead or the PM who is defining the solution.
Yes. Yeah. So, if you're asking how we do it, like
Yes.
in terms of tooling, we just do this through document collaboration and sometimes
No, no,
sync
not
collaboration.
how. I'm not asking how. I'm just asking whether you do it or not. Whether you involve the developers also to brainstorm in solutioning.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So that's exactly what I meant, that this whole document, crafting it is a cross-functional work.
Got
And
it.
cross-functional work meaning that you're doing it with your designer, sometimes with your researcher, sometimes with your data analyst, and of course developers and anyone else who might be relevant actually. And the way that you do it, it can be either through workshop, brainstorming session, async document collaboration, that someone is dropping thoughts and another person trying to fill in some other area. So yeah, it's pretty free form, but in
Got it.
general, it's always a cross functional collaboration.
And the way you manage it is by planning some time out from the sprint work in this discovery workshops, right?
Yes, absolutely, yes. Yeah, you need
Excellent.
to
Thank you.
dedicate time for it. Yeah.
That was very helpful. Cool. And then there is out of scope. That means what is not part of the solution. And I always love this because it can otherwise result in scope creep. The scope
Yeah.
can go out of hand. So you define your boundaries. And then there are dependencies, risks, and mitigations. So dependencies could be dependencies with other teams, I suppose, isn't it? Or
Yes, that is correct. So dependencies that are on other teams that needs to be resolved. Yeah.
got it. And risks and mitigations. And help me
Yeah.
understand the GTM strategy. Why is this important in the solution side?
So it's about the go-to-market side of the product launch, and I think it's very important because it touches upon a few things. One is about the release plan. So how are you planning to release this? Will you have a private alpha, or will you be first testing it within your organization and then gradually roll it out maybe to some beta tester or and later a wider group? So it's just outline what are the phases, which is quite important because you need to also plan for it. And a lot of experimentation plans might be included in this section as well. And also, it's also about how you bring your feature to the market. How are you going to market it? And of course, we don't include everything here. Mostly, we have a link to the actual GTM plan in another document, which is a proper, comprehensive go-to-market plan, which is crafted by our product marketing teams, and also the in some cases partnerships. So yeah, and it has its own template and set of work. So we don't try to bloat this document with everything. Sometimes we just add a link to other docs.
Exactly. So I have had occasions where my we call it opportunity assessment document. So,
Mm.
but it is very similar to this. And sometimes when I have lots of information, it gets bloated. But what you are saying is specific information can be linked to a separate document so that it's not broken.
Yes, and even in some cases, we have a separate PRD, which is this document links to that because the PRD specifically includes a lot of details about the solution. Or we have also engineering design documents, which includes a lot of details, and they are not specifically here. They're just linked to them is here. Or we have like Figma files, which include the full solution, or sometimes prototypes. We just add the links here.
All right. Okay. Okay. Let me ask this. Otherwise, I will forget. What is the document format for this? Like, where do you? Is it a Word document? Is it a wiki, or how do you
Good
maintain?
question. The teams have the freedom to choose which tool they want to use in this sense. We are trying to standardize certain things because it might be more convenient to have just one tool for doing things. But I've seen teams using Google Docs for doing this. I've seen teams using Miro template for doing this. Sometimes Confluence pages. So it's and maybe also some other tools. So uh, one of the bless of working at Miro is you can choose your own tooling. Of course, not every tooling, but at least the tools which are accepted by the company. But I think, of course, that comes also with a certain cost. So we are moving, especially as we are growing more and more, we are trying to standardize certain things.
Got it. All right. I'm being mindful of your time here as well. So let's complete the third pillar, which is post-launch recap.
Yeah.
Maybe some guidance there.
Yeah, it's a short part which is about once the feature is launched and the result is collected, we reflect back and see whether we were achieving our goals based on the success metrics that was defined earlier and also the actual results, and what are the learnings that we can take to improve further. And what is special about this part is sometimes people present the post-launch recap with some of the changes that they are planning to revise and relaunch again, sort of experimentation. So they present this part and the new solution discovery again together. Sometimes the team might present the outcome of experimentation here and not the full launch. Sometimes the full launch is going to be presented here. It's up to the team what they want to bring to the panel, to which is help like what they believe is helpful to be actually reviewed and presented.
Got it. And what if you don't meet any of the success metrics and the product is did not succeed? What happens then?
And actually that's that's the reviews that actually we love a lot because there were certain reasons that we didn't achieve our goals, and in that sense we want to learn from it, and not only us but also other teams. So we would strongly appreciate product teams to bring especially the launches that the goals were not achieved.
And then what is the decision? So do you
Oh,
live
this
with the feature, or do you pull out the feature, or how do you kill the feature? What do you do?
so that's exactly what I referred a bit earlier, that it's up to the team what they want to do next. Either sometimes it might lead to a new solution discovery, or either it might be they already know what type of changes they want to make and they will do, or in some cases they might leave it as is because the goal is not achieved but the result is somewhat acceptable and it doesn't work to go and rework everything. And in some cases the experimentation might stop or the feature might get sunset. So there are a lot of different outcomes that might come out of this.
Excellent. This was wonderful. I have just last two questions